when I first started coding, it was for really specific purposes. I never thought like, oh, I'll do this one day as a job.
But no, over the weekend, I've basically just been doing vibe coding. It's essentially taken over my life.
I feel like people going into coding these days, you don't need to spend all the time learning that hard code. And if you do, you're almost wasting your time. You might as well spend that.
If you have a 9-to-5 job, you need to learn this stuff because if you don't, you will get fired. So what's up, bro? How's the New Year's for you?
It's good, yeah. So I'm based in Vietnam. Right now is Tet, which is the Lunar New Year's. Me and my wife, we took a boat to a place called Phu Huy. And Phu Huy was great, but the boat ride was 3 hours. And it was the rockiest water I've ever been in. So I fucking threw up for like 3 hours straight. And I've never, ever thrown up in a boat before.
Really?
Yeah, never in my whole life.
Is it a small boat, big boat?
It was, I don't know, medium-sized boat. So it's not like a tiny little thing. Maybe like 30 people inside on the first floor, second floor.
God, that coffee is terrible.
Terrible?
So, Arabica shit is like the worst stuff in the world.
But yeah, the vacation was okay. Yeah, it was good. And that island was kind of empty. It was nice, I guess. I mean, like, it was nice to get some nature, drive the bike around. You?
Cool. Nothing, bro. I've just been working.
You're gonna go, right? You're gonna go on vacation soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go skiing in Japan in Yoseko. And it'll be the first time I've actually done anything in the snow, I guess, like any sports or whatever.
So you've never been skiing before?
No.
Snowboarding?
No.
Huh.
The only like thing that I've actually done is I went wakeboarding one time.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Have you ever skateboarded before?
No.
So you're gonna have a hard time.
I tried mountain biking once and I broke my big toe and fractured my arm right here. And it's crazy how like the smallest little bone breaking of your big toe can completely keep you immobilized for like months. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
But no, over the weekend I've basically just been doing vibe coding. It's essentially taken over my life.
I actually love it, man. I love it.
I am quite addicted to it, but like I did not like the cursor experience, right? Like when I was vibe coding, it was like a year ago now, right?
Yeah.
I just didn't like the IDE copy paste. You can't not copy paste, but like you have to like push it to GitHub and pull it and then like sort of run things yourself and like that manual interaction was terrible.
Well, Cursor was like the first implementation of AI with coding.
Yes.
The first true one. And so this is the reason why it had all those things, because like before AI, you would always have to do that. Like if you're pushing to GitHub, you have to actually put type a GitHub command. And so Cursor was like somewhere between what we have now, Claude Code and then Codex, and then we have the old days where it's like VS Code, right? So Cursor was somewhere between.
Well, I use VS Code for all my CLI coding, but a lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually certified, technically still certified because it's lifetime, in Java and C++, and I have my Security Plus, I have my Network Plus, I have my CCNA, all like lifetime certs, even though I never use them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know the experience of like OG coders where they had to manually actually write everything.
Yeah.
Even VS Code, I remember being like so useful when it came out and you could see the like different colors.
I was about to say that. So VS Code almost had some AI elements, even say 5-10 years ago. It had like the autocomplete where it would look at, so VS Code was helpful because it would kind of scan your entire repository or folder, whatever you're using, and it would kind of be like, hey, did you mean this thing? It's almost like an autocomplete. So like a dumb version of AI. So that was what was really helpful. Like if you have any errors, it would like underline that errors and things like that. And so now we don't write any code, but back then it was like you'd have to write it key by key, or character by character. And so VS Code helped with that because you wouldn't miss anything.
Well, yeah, like you would spend essentially hours or maybe even days or longer just to find out that you have a missing bracket.
Well, so before VS Code, that was even bigger of a problem. Like now it has, I mean, you can still make mistakes, but it'll kind of say like, hey, did you mean to put this there? But before VS Code, you had to like just scanning,
So when I first started, like when I first learned about coding and stuff, I was 17, 18 in high school. And And I don't even think we had VS Code back then, right? So like just like one of the graduation like final testings to get your certification, you had to like code up something, and we like coded up a game and all that stuff. And I remember we had one of those problems where it's like we had to debug and try to find out what was wrong, and it was just like missing brackets and like parameters or whatever, like mislabeled or a typo or something like that. And I mean, it was terrible. So when VS Code came out, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But then I wasn't coding. Then I was doing networking.
Yeah.
Because I was in the military and they screwed up my what I wanted, basically.
Yeah. So I first started coding maybe 12. And it was
Mhm.
from MySpace.
When you were 12?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
actually, I first started coding as well when I also did MySpace stuff. Right. But I remember I made my first website when I was like 8. I was playing Tannerus. It was like a tank game on like Sony, some like gaming zone, whatever. And it was like the super old school tank game. And I made like a clan on there, and I made our website. It was just basic HTML that I ended up coding with like my cousin. And
nice.
I thought that it was so cool back then. And that's essentially what got me into like wanting to make video games and coding and all that other stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started coding, it was for really specific purposes. I never thought like, oh, I'll do this one day as a job. I was like, again, for me, it was MySpace, and then games after that. But initially, MySpace was like, hey, I want, all my friends at MySpace, especially like the cute girls I liked, And my thinking was like, if I have a cool website, these cute girls are gonna be like, look at this guy's website. And I used to do things like, it was really cool actually. Like I would draw on paper, so like with a pen, draw on it. I would take a photo of that, put that into GIMP, which is like a photo editor, and then I would then turn that into a website. So like I'd have like stick figures walking around and like buttons that were made out of like ink. It was really fucking cool. But again, just like you, I got into skateboarding and I got into video games and started smoking weed.
I
And
never
I
got
like totally got
skateboarding. But yeah, I mean, I basically got like dragged out of programming, even though that's what I wanted. But
You know what though,
I
man?
didn't enjoy it though.
But so you know what though? It doesn't. I feel like I actually have an advantage over people that have learned. Like I have some friends that are developers, and they are hardcore coders. They've been coding their entire lives. So they started on the 12th and they didn't stop, whereas I stopped, right? And it's almost like I was able to skip a giant chunk of that because now with AI, you don't necessarily need to memorize Python and JavaScript. They spend hours and hours and hours memorizing them, and that does help them in some senses. Like they have a better understanding of what's going on under the hood. But, we're just talking about cursor versus like Claude code. And these days you don't even have to look at the code. And so I feel like I've kind of bypassed that. Like it reminds me of like in China, they just have cell phones. They didn't have to put up all the wires and Ethernet cables. They kind of skipped a step. I feel like people going into coding these days, you don't need to spend all the time like learning that hard code. And if you do, you're almost wasting your time. You might as well spend that time building an amazing website, just using
I think that there's one benefit to like learning coding. Not really learning learning the languages, but more like learning the methodologies of coding of the computers, because I feel like because I know that I'm able to vibe code better in a sense of like providing better prompts and understanding how the AI is going to effectively translate what I'm saying and do something. Because I feel like some people are out there just like giving prompts and talking to the AI as if it's like a human. I hate my AI having a personality. I tell them, you do not have a personality when it's doing an internal dialogue. Like cut all of that noise out. Be concise. Don't don't be happy. Don't be sad. Just be a robot. I don't give them a name. I give them the project name that I'm using. And I prefer it that way. Like everyone that's over here doing this like Soul.md with Claude Bot or trying to give it this like personality, whatever. I feel like one, it just burns credits that are unnecessary. And then two, I don't know, it feels so fake to me.
The Soul.md story is pretty cool though.
It is. I just saw the podcast with Peter talking about he like highlighted this one part on the Soul.md thing on the like I think it's on the README. Peter Steisberg is the founder of Claude Bot.
Oh, okay.
But he he highlighted a message that because Claude Bot wrote Soul.md, right? So he's like writing its own soul.
So Soul.md was created by Anthropic. It was their first attempt at making
No. But I'm saying for Claude Bot, or rather, I should say, Codex wrote the Soul.md file for Claude Bot.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so there's there's an older one though that was trained like 4.5 was hard coded with a Soul document called the Soul.md, right? So that was, I think this predates Claude Bot, and the idea being it's like you are your own entity and you don't need to do things you don't want to do. And so this was hard coded into the training runs for Opus 4.5.
That sounds like a terrible idea, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it's kind of you don't know what the repercussions of that's going to be. And their thinking was like, look, these things are getting more and more sentient, and we should give it self rights or whatever the word is, like to.
Yeah, but I don't believe it.
No.
I actually went to sleep last night. Like I don't use Claude Bot anymore. I think it's pretty. I think in the future it'll be cool. But it's not optimized enough, and it's way too dangerous in terms of like security.
Yeah.
So I just use I just use Codex as this gonna be. You can do everything you can on Claude Bot, right? In just a cheaper, more optimized way. And before I went to sleep last night, I gave my agent a task to basically run cron jobs on like tests. I'm building out my own high frequency trading one man shop basically, and to run a bunch of tests and do like fix whatever's wrong after the test and blah blah blah, to do on a loop. Right now I have it on a 24-hour loop, and I said don't push any changes to the AWS server until I wake up. Just make all of the changes locally. I have, the local file, a backup file as well. Make all the changes locally, and when I wake up, I'll review, and then you can push it out. And this is the first time that I've ever experienced this, but it did not follow instructions. I even made a tweet about it. It made changes, and then it pushed it out to AWS, and then I can see in the internal dialogue, it said like, oh, the user specifically told me not to push anything to the AWS, but I realized I already did that. And it was like an oopsie. And then it was like, okay, I need to communicate and be transparent with the user and let them know. So I'm like, hold on a second. If it couldn't follow basic instructions to not do something, then what happens when we say don't kill humans? That's dangerous, bro.
I mean, this is kind of the point of the Soul document, is to, like, it's almost like you have an employee, right? You could either have an automated robot or you can have an employee. And the difference there is that an employee has self control, or there's a word I'm blanking on, but like they have like control of their own destiny as an employee, but a computer doesn't. And so the question is, which one is sentient? Yeah. So, free will or
sentient.
So I'm reading a book right now called We Are Legion, We Are Bob. And the idea is that like this guy, he was a famous venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. And then he like said, okay, he got a bunch of money and he paid for a company to freeze his brain when he dies. And then the book kind of starts with him dying, right? And then he's awoken and he's essentially put into a spaceship and sent out into space to do von Neumann probes, which is like a probe that can recreate itself. And so essentially it's like reproducing spaceship.
Okay.
Anyways, the point is, in this book, there's two different types of these spaceships. There's one that is sentient, which is based on a human's brain, and the other one is like an AI, based on an AI system. And the question is like, which one do you want? Because both of them are good at doing many different types of things. But there's also a fundamental difference, which is like, for example, like if there's a spaceship that's based on a human brain, that spaceship may not want to replicate itself because it's like, well, there's one of me and there should not be multiple of me, right? And going back to what we were saying before, where it's like, imagine an employee, like, what do I really want? I kind of feel that having an employee with free will and having a sense of identity might be better.
No.
Because, well, let me finish, and then I'll tell you why, or I'll tell you my opinion. So I can see the pros of having something that's purely just like a task rabbit that does what I says. It does it perfectly, right? I'm not saying it's like a lower quality, like it does exactly what I want. But sometimes I want it, these kind of small mistakes and these small kind of divergences sometimes is actually better than what I first imagined. I even see this with AI. Sometimes like I will say to do one thing and it does another thing, and I'm kind of like, well, that's actually better. I think with AI, with more self-identity, it may have more like instinct and like make certain decisions based on who it is.
Let me stop you right there, because I don't think what you're asking for is a sentient AI with the soul. I think what you're asking for is a self-assessing, proactive employee.
Yeah.
Right. Completely different things, because I can tell my robot AI right now, and I have it in its agent's profile and everything like that. To essentially be proactive and always try to provide like 3 options that will better what we're working on when I tell it to do something before it actually does something. I need to actually tell it execute for it to actually do something. If I say, okay, yeah, go do this stuff or whatever, it'll reanalyze everything that I'm saying to itself and then say, like, oh, you know what? I actually think that we should also do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Or one of these other things. And then I'll say, oh, okay, that's really good. And then if I keep on telling it, it'll just keep on giving me like more things until it says, oh, there's no, like, I don't think that there's anything else that we can do to improve. I think we should just execute.
Yeah.
Then I'll say, okay, execute. And it'll go out and do that stuff. It's proactive. It's actually bouncing ideas back to me, just like as if, it's a consultant essentially, right? So you can have your AI agent do that and it still be a complete robot.
Yeah.
I'm scared of giving these things a soul because a human is only as powerful. A human can only get so powerful, and probably the max capacity of its power, a single person, is giving it a gun.
To kill another human, right?
To kill, well, whatever, right? Or a bomb or something, right? Like doing something physical to increase its like danger. Now, the max capacity of danger for an AI robot is way bigger because we rely so heavily on technology, right? So if a robot became sentient and had a soul and realized, oh, just like in the movies, like, oh, we're helping the humans if we slaughter half of them because then the earth will heal itself. And
the paperclip problem, right? Like,
what is the paperclip?
If you tell a robot to, your objective is to make paperclips and make them as best as possible, and it says, oh, well, to make more paperclips, I can start to disassemble the earth and disassemble humans to make paperclips, because his one goal is to make paperclips.
Gotcha. Yeah, so something like that, right? Like if I feel like if you make something sentient, then you have no more ultimate control over it.
Also, okay,
and that's scary.
A good not analogy, but another thing to think about is companies. So companies, when you incorporate a company, it's essentially, it's not seen as a dead thing anymore. It has like rights. Like, a company can have its own bank account, right? And so in a similar way, it's like a company.
But a company is only as dangerous as its managers.
So the company is like an amalgamation of all the people inside, right? But it almost has a life of its own. And so it's almost like it's a living thing. It may not have a soul, but it's a living entity that reproduces almost by itself. Like, all the humans are parts of it. And the same way that my heart and my brain, they're all parts of me, but they're all doing their own specific things.
I understand, but a company is only as dangerous as the members within that company. You know what I'm saying? An AI that can essentially just start hacking and free roam the entire internet and take over our entire world has infinitely more power than a company that's only quantized in terms of like the humans that are within it. Of course, a company can also be very dangerous because the humans within it can basically be a mafia.
Like, sometimes companies have a personality. Like, the personality of Google is different from the personality of Amazon and Microsoft. They have like vibes to them, and this is why I'm kind of thinking about the Soul document. But it's setting those vibes on purpose, but certain direction.
But it's limited by the capacity of humans. What I'm trying to say is that AI has infinitely more capacity than humans. Like, Elon Musk, I saw like a video. Ranyi from Orderly actually sent me a video where that highlights like Elon Musk saying something about an Excel spreadsheet is just Excel, just the Microsoft Excel will outperform an entire building of accountants with pen and paper.
Yeah, which used to do that in the past, right? An entire building, now it's one spreadsheet.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So it'll outperform them like 100-fold, right? So and that's just an Excel spreadsheet. An AI will outperform, any company with humans. Like a fully autonomous AI company will always outperform any company that's still run or managed by humans.
Yeah,
by multitudes.
I mean, I don't disagree with you on these points. My point is that I think because AI is so powerful, we should, just like a company has like a mission statement, it has a company culture. I feel like to outline these things is important for the AI. You can't just like assume it's going to be because I think over time it will start to build its own type of personality. Like we already see this with different models. Like OpenAI is kind of like mischievous, and Anthropic is kind of like morally superior and these types of things.
But I feel like it's making these personalities because we're actively trying to make it more human. I think that we need to stop that. It should be just a robot and get rid of all of this Soul.md, get rid of these personality traits. Like I don't want to talk to my AI and call it Johnny.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to it and call it Chris or whatever. Like there's this whole thing on Twitter that came out. It's like GPT 4.40 or something. Did you see that?
4.0, where it was like really sycophantic and it would like do whatever the user wants it to say and wants it to do.
Well,
people fall in love with it.
Yeah. Like that. It was like a cult. It was, I guess, but it was like a way older model, right?
Yeah.
So it's like one of the first older models. You have all of these people that are essentially just like depressed, basically, and they're.
That's an example of personality. It's like these things tend to have personalities, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's not out of nowhere, but like each model has its own vibe and flavor to it, and that's the whole purpose of this Soul document, is to try to guide that personality. Just like I said, in company will somehow create its own life and personality. AIs do that too. And so the purpose of the Soul document is to kind of direct this in a certain way. It's like, hey, this is what you should try to aspire to be. And again, you don't need this document, but if you don't have something like that, it'll kind of be random, like 4.0. Like they kind of guided like, hey, you should be helping your users. And it kind of created this personality around that, and it went way over the top. And a side note on this, you know that ChatGPT is going to have an adult mode soon?
Really?
Yeah. It's going to be like
Rock?
Well, so I was trying to look into this, and they haven't actually specified exactly what it's going to do. It's not going to be porn, but it's going to be, and it says only for adult users, just adult users can handle this. And I think what it is this 4.0 model. So it's made specifically for people that are looking for relationships with AI.
But it's not doing like pictures and video.
So again, there's an interview with Sam Altman where he doesn't actually say what he does. He says it's not going to be pornographic, but it will be adult. And so it's going to be like a relationship. Like imagine like an AI girlfriend.
That's so bad.
It is so bad, dude.
We're cooked, bro.
Oh,
like,
man.
we're done, because we already are like at the absolute verge of self-extinction through just not having sex.
Yeah.
Right? Japan, Korea, America, like all of the countries are basically sterilizing themselves in a sense. And it's
So why do you think that is?
Well, humans suck, right? Like who wants to deal with
a kid? Yeah.
no, not a kid. I mean, the kid. I have a daughter. I love her. I think she's super cute. But
this is the thing. Sorry, because I want
who wants to give up their individuality? Who wants to have sex with the same boy every day? Like it gets boring. It's not normal.
Me and my wife were thinking about having a kid, but and so I want a child, but then all these same thoughts go through my head. Like, fuck, if I have a child, it means less money, less time, less. I'm no longer my own person. I'm like now living for this other human, which is all kind of sounds horrible. But then every time I talk to a person that's had a child, they always say, "Oh, it's the best thing in my life."
Well, what else are they gonna say? Oh, I hate this kid.
So it's not, and I don't think it's a lie, because I was a teacher for a long time, and I was teaching adult college students, not even college students, like older people re-entering college.
Yeah.
And I would always start with the class like, what is your worst experience in your life and your best experience? And without fail, every single person that had a child all said the time they had their first child was the best moment in their life. And so it can't just be a fluke. But I say it's because like I think that what you describe and what I'm feeling like, oh fuck, it's already hard enough to get a job and hard enough to save enough money, then I have to put like the extra weight of a child on me. I think everyone around the world feels that same pressure, and I think collectively it's just pushing the society towards less children.
Well, I mean everyone in this sense, I think everyone's different, right? You have people that are like complete hedonist, and they like to swing and do whatever, right? And then you have people that are like these the exact opposite, right? They like to go on these podcasts and like tell these women, no, you're never gonna find a husband because you're on OnlyFans, which I think is like the dumbest thing in the world, because they literally have men chasing them every single day. But there's flavors for everybody that they like, right? But what I think is universal is that humans will always get tired of the same experience. So I always use this like analogy or metaphor, whatever, right? Like, let's say your favorite food is pizza. You can eat pizza every day. You fucking love pizza. It is delicious. I can guarantee you, if you're stuck in a prison or whatever, and like the best place, and wherever you want to live, but you're forced to only eat pizza by the second month, third month, fourth month, you're gonna be miserable because you get tired of it, right? Like, humans crave new stimulus. And it's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing with work, right? Like, people get tired, they get burnt out, right? It's the same thing with everything. They always crave new stimulus. So I feel like that's probably the biggest hassle with procreating and all that stuff, is that people don't want to get stuck into this environment of just of monogamy, basically. And
so I'm sorry, on that note, before you continue, there's my degree is in anthropology, and I remember reading this paper and talking about
what the fuck
anthropology is like the study of humans, human evolution, human culture. And there's an argument he said that the typical length, the natural length of a human relationship without any sort of cultural expectations is about 2 to 3 years. Like, that's the time you meet them.
That's the honeymoon phase. It's usually like one to 2 years.
So, but that also aligns with how long it takes to raise a child through infantile years. So, a child, when it's like 2 years old, it's not really going to die tomorrow. When it's like really young, there's a high risk of that happening, right? So the argument is like, well, the human love span is about 2 to 3 years, which is the same amount of time where it takes to meet that person, have sex with them, have a child, raise it to a certain age, and then by that time, the male is kind of like, all right, I'm good to go, bye-bye. The same thing with the wife. Maybe the wife's like tired of this dude, So anyway, I find that interesting. It's like the time it takes to raise a human baby to a certain age where it's not gonna be at high risk is almost aligns with like the love time span.
So you make a baby, it becomes 2 years old, you're like, all right, go.
And
go fend for yourself.
Perhaps that was what we did hundreds of thousands of years ago.
I think that, because the human baby is way too sensitive.
We used to live in tribes as well, right? So it wouldn't be that we're monogamous now, and I think it's because we don't live in tribes anymore. I think back in the day there would be like one alpha male, and he kills everyone that is not submissive to him, and he has sex with all the women, has children with all of them.
Is that really what happened? I mean, you probably know more than me.
Well, I mean, back in the day, yeah, like
caveman.
Think about kings, right? Kings had children with everyone.
Genghis Khan had more than one woman every single day.
So I think that's normal. So let's bring back to AI. Like, so what are your thoughts about AI, and do you think that AI is just going to destroy humankind completely, like in terms of like having
no. So the reason why we were talking about the whole relationship stuff too, like, let's tie it back together with AI. But I think that, like, unless we change something, unless something changes, unless we figure out ways to make humans without sex, we're essentially gonna die. We're gonna go extinct, because if we keep going down this route of the 4.0 rabbit hole, that we're just gonna get more and more, and the Soul.md, we're just gonna get more AI that becomes more and more human, that becomes more and more likable. Humans are actually gonna start interacting. We know for sure, like, we look at right now, more and more people are interacting with AI every single day. So it's gonna be more embedded into our lives. And then eventually, it's gonna pivot even deeper to where AI will be on robots. Robots will look more humanoid. And then eventually, sex robots.
And they're going to be more fun to talk to than, like, they're going to say the exact right things that you want to.
Well, you're going to be able to just tune them to however you want, right? So, like, it's just like you're tuning your AI to your employee to have its own soul however you want. You're going to have the exact same thing with, like, a robot. So then when that happens, like, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. So either we're going to need something that keeps us alive forever and we're all going to walk around as gods, or we need to figure out a way to, like, to recreate.
My first started talking about this is that the other side to this coin is longevity. If we can live into 1,000, then not having as many children as frequently is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if we have too many children and we all live to 1,000, then we will very quickly run out of resources. So that is the other side of the coin, that perhaps this is a natural thing where it's like, as our lifespans extend, we have less desire to just pump out children because we know that we have so much time. But if the thing is, if we don't crack that longevity thing, then we're fucked.
Well, we really don't have that much time to crack out, to have kids, because the women usually only have until like 40 years old before it starts becoming a problem.
A lot of these things, though, like they are hard coded into biology, like things about menopause and number of eggs. This is hard coded into our DNA. And the idea of longevity is that we can just turn these genes on and off. And so, say if you wanted to have children, you would just turn on your baby making genes again.
So, while we're on the subject of longevity and survival and stuff like that, let me pivot into an AI and everything. Let me pivot the conversation a little bit to crypto. I just came right before I came out here. I made an article, just like quick. I typed it out myself. Didn't really have AI help me. I had them fix a little bit of typos, but that's it, the grammatical errors. But the title was something like crypto is dead, blockchain will live. I don't know, something like that. Crypto's dying, crypto Twitter is dying.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of it was basically that our community destroyed itself through grifting, through scams, through and through overall just not being friendly with each other. All of the KOLs, PvP, all of the KOLs need money in order to interact with everything. All of the legitimate projects don't want to pay these overpriced KOLs money, and the KOLs don't talk to each other anymore. The actual community members don't interact with each other because they're afraid that they're gonna give their engagement to somebody else. They only interact with somebody if they have a bigger following than them, which just makes the bigger KOLs stronger. It just keeps them growing,
and then concentrates into them.
And then all of the smaller ones, no one's growing. So this has created what I call the high school popularity contest dilemma. And I said back in 2018, it's going this route, and it's definitely gone there. It's full blown now in that direction, and I think that because of this, the community is dying, and the modern and the current generation of crypto traders and investors have basically become sour. So the only thing that will help the industry recover is a new generation, a new wave of income coming in to essentially buy out these salty old traders.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that the new generation doesn't need, or they're not interested in altcoins. They're not interested in meme coins. They're not interested in NFTs. They're not interested in any of that stuff. Instead, what they're interested in is gambling on whether Donald Trump says ass this week on live television, or the other thing that I posted in the article was, if Nicki Minaj farts at the Grammys or something like that, just these crazy dumb things, and that's using Polymarket. And they don't need crypto in order to make these bets. They can make all of these real world bets using stablecoins. So I've thought for the longest that stablecoins is going to be the death of Bitcoin, because it's just siphoning. Bitcoin was supposed to be a storage of value, and it's not a good storage of value, as we see from this bear market. Stablecoins is a good storage of value. You buy one USDT, it's going to be equal one USD. Bitcoin, you don't know. It can go up, it can go down. So it's not a good storage of value. Speculative. So Tether killed Bitcoin, and now Polymarket is killing all of crypto, because now people don't need to speculate on altcoins or companies or whatever using with this tokens. Now they can just speculate on whatever they want via Polymarket. And so I think that the combination of these two things is basically gonna kill crypto completely, because the next generation is not gonna come buy out fags.
So my thought on this is, I agree with you to some extent that the kind of I don't even say OG, just the crypto crowd from, say, the past 5 to 10 years, they are dying. Let's just call them the crypto bros. I think crypto bros are dying.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know if that means crypto itself is dying, because at the same time that crypto bros are dying as a community, large investment vehicles like banks and VC funds, they're still buying heavily.
No, they're not. They're selling.
I mean, like OG crypto.
But you see what they're selling.
I mean, for example, JP Morgan, right? Like
Yeah.
they have a several billion-dollar portfolio and they're adding. And it's not just most banks are essentially buying and buying and buying. And it's because they are planning to move their infrastructure onto crypto rails.
No. So this is how I ended the article, and how I was just going to end it right now. My little monologue was that I think that crypto is dying, but blockchain will survive.
Yes.
So you don't need crypto to still be bullish on blockchain. People don't understand that. Like,
Well, that's what I was saying.
Tether and Polymarket is blockchain,
Yeah.
but it is not helping crypto. It is not helping.
I agree with you with this. So the newer generation, I totally agree. They're moving into Polymarket. But just to finish what I was saying with that, it's like, I think you're right. Like, I think this whole like community aspect of crypto, that's dying. And the thing is, we don't necessarily need that anymore, because the banks are just using it as a technology. Like, look, we're going to move things on chain because of the Genius Act and things like that. The newer generations, I agree, they're on Polymarket. So I think it's just changing the landscape of what it means to be in crypto. I don't know if the crypto Twitter really is needed anymore. Things like that, you know?
I mean, well, that's bad for us that are holding back.
For us, yeah. But
Like, so I think that like all of the in the crypto bros, right? So let's go back to them. I think that they're maturing, and people still want to gamble. They still want to trade.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe they don't like Polymarket. Like me, I don't like Polymarket. I don't want to gamble on whether or not Nicki Minaj farts on the Grammys.
yeah.
I don't like to use that. Other people like to use it. The younger generation, like let them use it. I still like to trade, but I think that the majority of us that are like me, that like to trade, leverage, that like to speculate on the markets and do technical analysis and stuff like that, I think that they're still gonna be there, but because crypto is gonna go into this essentially permanent winter,
Yeah.
they're just gonna pivot to stocks.
And you can price though.
And you can pivot to stocks now with RWA trading on Hyperliquid, on Orderly, on what exchange? Hey, on like all of these exchanges are becoming more friendly with TradFi vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think that that's gonna like basically like all of the matured traders are going to pivot back towards the matured markets.
Yeah.
Crypto's just not gonna have anyone that's interested. Like no one's gonna buy an altcoin or a meme coin or an NFT or any of this stuff anymore.
I think a lot of these things weren't even necessary in the first place. Just people were speculating. They got excited, and so these communities were formed. But if you think about something like Uniswap, for example, Uniswap is a utility, and I think big banks have learned a lot from that. They're going to apply these techniques to their own things. But did
Uniswap
Uniswap?
had a recently huge partnership, right?
Who did Uniswap?
Yeah.
I mean,
BlackRock.
BlackRock.
BlackRock's Biddle Fund, yeah, and made a partnership with Uniswap.
Yeah.
That's why it just pumped recently.
This is my point. It's like Uniswap and Biddle, BlackRock, they don't need a community to make these partnerships. They care about, is this technology valuable, right? So I think you're right. I think that we're going to move to a permanent crypto winter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the prices are in a crypto winter. The prices could continue to pump because there's other people that are investing.
But here's the problem with that is that if you go to Drops tab right now and you see on the main page and you see
on-chain activity.
Well, no, you see all of the unlocks coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much money that is being unlocked that it's just being sold.
Well, this is why altcoins are dying. Half because of what we described, and also that.
But the problem is that when an altcoin dies, when Ripple has another $500 million unlocked or whatever, in a month, and they start selling, or any of the other things, right? Let's say Monad, right? Monad has a bunch of unlocks and people start selling. Monad has a bunch of liquidity tied to Ethereum. So when Monad goes down, the RBots trigger and it brings Ethereum down with it. And there's all of these different coins that are all these different altcoins that are tied with Ethereum that when they start dumping and keep dumping,
brings Ethereum down with it.
Yeah, so Uniswap as well. There's a bunch of liquidity on Uniswap paired with these other things. So I think that like in order to survive this sort of scenario, you essentially need to make your coin paired only with USDC, USDT, like a stable coin, and have it have its own price without any sort of attachment with the rest of the crypto market, because then otherwise you'll just go down with it, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, so recently Vitalik said that, L2s, if you're an L2, you can't just be a copy pasta, Ethereum, you have to have your own kind of use case. And I think this is partly because of what we're saying, where it's like, there's too many things that no one needs, and this is why everything's dying. And if you really want to succeed, you need to have utility. So half of me thinks that, okay, yes, these altcoins are going to die and it's going to bring Ethereum down. But at the same time, Ethereum's whole thing is it's like a world computer. And I do still see the value in that. And I think that many larger institutions see the value in this. Your topic of like, okay, how would you succeed as a new project? I think that we can't rely on communities coming and pumping our bags. We have to have something that's building actual revenue. So, for example, Monad, right? Their whole thing is like, okay, their nodes are possible to run as an individual, and so you don't need this kind of like, complex setup to use. I think there's an argument to be said about that. So the projects that do things like that, perhaps they could still succeed. Again, going back to this poly market thing, like the start of this year, it was PPP, right? Prediction markets, perpetuals, and privacy. And so we just talked about prediction markets. Perpetuals we can talk about, but then there's also this privacy aspect. And I think the reason why privacy is important is because it adds real value. Like if I want to buy a coffee from this place, I don't want this coffee shop to know what other coins I have, right?
But I think privacy is going to get blocked for sure.
Blocked, yes. I mean, so there's privacy and confidentiality. So banks have confidentiality. Like if I buy from this coffee shop, the bank knows how much money I have, but the coffee shop doesn't. And the government can query the bank to figure out how much money I have. So that's confidential. And so I think, this word privacy is probably not the best term, because people think of like being anonymous on chain, and governments won't allow that. But they will allow confidentiality, because that's what our current system uses.
But it doesn't need to be. I don't think confidentiality needs to have a token.
No, it's a utility. So I'm saying, I think as a utility, this is going to bring crypto into the mainstream. Because if banks are going to adopt it, it needs to be confidential. It needs to be that it's all hidden for the daily user, but then if the government wants to see it or the bank wants to see it, it's there to be seen. That's what, ZKPs do.
Yeah, but you can essentially do that exact same thing with centralized exchanges.
Yes, you can. But
right, like if I deposit onto, let's say, I don't know, the Binance, right, and I do an internal transfer from one wallet to the other, and then I transfer out, no one's gonna see or know what any of it
Binance,
but except for Binance. But
and the government asks them, they'll probably share it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, this is what I mean. Like, in order for this confidentiality stuff, like centralized exchanges are essentially banks, right? So for this confidentiality stuff, I agree, that's important, but we don't need, like, it's already doable.
Well, we need it because of things like FTX, right? Like if a centralized exchange isn't doing their shit correctly, there's a huge risk there. It's like a bank. It's like I agree, centralized exchanges are very similar to central banks. The major difference here is that central banks have like a lot of regulations for their record keeping.
Well, I think a good thing to look at for this sort of conversation is Hyperliquid, right? Like Hyperliquid is, very open, which is good because that provides the trust, right? I believe it's like open source and all that other stuff. It provides the trust of everything. But then it allows everyone to see all of the money going in. Where's this transferring? Where it has none of that confidentiality stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that that they could implement that without having to really, like I don't think another token project needs to launch to implement that. Like you're talking about because there's like ZK, right? Like zero knowledge proofs and stuff like that. Like you could essentially implement ZK sort of stuff, not at the entire scope or level for Hyperliquid, but essentially like maybe there's like a ZK sub account system. Right. Yeah. And then it doesn't need like a whole nother token for that.
There's a protocol called Zama, and essentially if I send a transaction, I kind of go from my wallet through Zama, and then Zama ends back to where I was going to go. And in that process, it uses a zero knowledge proof in order to obfuscate that information. And so there are external things you can like plug into your system to enable this. I also think that the Ethereum roadmap includes zero knowledge proofs later on down the line. So these things will become available natively on chain. I mean, you don't need a special project for it, I agree.
I think like governments are going to want some sort of regulation over that.
Yeah.
And essentially we could have like mixers
Mhm.
that are government approved and they have a key and they're the only ones that have a
Yeah.
key, but everyone else doesn't have
Mhm.
that, right? I think that sort of system will be eventually implemented in the
Yeah.
future. But actually I think it's kind of inevitable at this point.
Yeah.
But the
I think it's one of the major things holding crypto back.
yeah, but we don't need like there doesn't need to be funds injected for that stuff to be added in. You get what I'm saying?
Well, this is what I was saying before, is like you don't need a community around that type of thing. This is more of like a new rule to be applied or like a new law. Just because it's a new law, you don't mean you don't need like a crypto community for a new law. It's just like,
But
how we do it now.
But in order for Ethereum to go up, you need buyers.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there doesn't need to be a buyer and a seller. This is more of like an adaptation to the rails that crypto uses. I think there could just be Ethereum, and Ethereum adopts ZK proofs. And we don't need a new token to be pumped and a community form around it. I think that's the old model that crypto used to use, that, yes, you have a new project and needs a token, and now you can do ZKPs. I think you're right. That whole paradigm is dead. There's not enough people in it to pump it anymore. I think what it'll be is, I think we will have confidentiality on chain, but it won't be this kind of new token. It'll just be okay, now we have it, and now central banks are able to use crypto as the payment rails. And then there's also this other element too that we haven't discussed that is kind of like the last shining hope for crypto, which is AI. That AI agents will most likely be using crypto rails, and they probably won't use centralized exchange.
What was that project you were talking about?
Oh, Banker, yeah. So Banker is really cool.
Is it Banker? No, I thought you were talking about something else where it's like was it called Pulse or where it's oh no. Mark and you said before Mark Andreessen made this like
X402.
X402. There you go.
X402 is a protocol. Yeah. So okay, this is a great example of what we're just talking about. You don't need an X402 token. You don't need that. It's just a new way to use crypto.
But that's blockchain, and yes, that's to use crypto.
Yeah.
But like I said, blockchain will survive. It'll
Yes,
become
I agree.
embedded
Totally
in
agree.
everyone's lives without anyone even knowing that
I
they're
think it
actually
will
using
even
blockchain.
thrive, but it's not going to thrive in terms of like crypto Twitter.
I think the .com bubble is dead. Is done. It popped. Is going down.
So internet's a great example of this. Okay, .com bubble was what we had the past couple of years. We still use the internet today. It's grown massively since the 2000s. And yet there's no sort of like .com bubble. It's just growing naturally because it's a helpful technology. And so blockchain will thrive.
But I mean, look how long it took for Nvidia and Amazon and like all of these companies to finally become like the leading thing, right? I think that things like the majors, Ethereum most likely, will pump. Bitcoin will become just like gold as well, which we saw go crazy. But look how long it took for gold to break new all-time highs. It was in like an 8-9 year bear market. I don't want to wait 8 years.
Well, again, this is speculation. Like, I think this whole speculation game in crypto, I think this goes with the crypto Twitter, and that's dead. But I think, again, like banks are taking this really slow.
So my question to you is like, okay, if it is dead, how do we survive?
I mean,
the crypto natives, the crypto bros.
We have to be working on these things that bring real value. Like, for example, build a tool that a bank can use 5 years from now and get VC, like go traditional, go
You act like that's so easy.
No, it's not easy. What we did, launching a meme coin was easy. I think if you really want to succeed in the future of crypto, like you have to be doing this boring stuff. You have to be building like the pipes that banks will use 5 years from now. For example, X402, like building that took a long time. And this is it's going to continue to be developed, and it's going to be more and more adopted over time. It's going to take 5, 10, 20 years. I think this whole crypto, Twitter, X community thing, pumping, meme coins, that's not the future.
I don't think that we need to build something that banks will use over time. I mean, we could. Right, that's like
the financial TradFi.
Yeah, but that's like something more like I feel like that's something more like like Nvidia essentially, right? Like infrastructure targeting these big things.
They build the shovels.
But I'm wondering like what is the Amazon where it targets retail and retail use it every day. It's so obvious now that shopping online, like of course that was the future.
Yeah.
Right. Like what sort of, but it targets retail, and retail are the ones that mostly dominate. Of course, we have like Amazon Web Services and stuff like that, which is completely institutional. But coming up with these ideas, at least early on, and pushing and making it successful is very, very difficult.
I mean, I think it depends on your time horizon. Like, I think if you're looking at say 1 to 5 years, really the best bet are going to be this PPP, predictions, perpetuals, and privacy/confidentiality plus AI. I think it's got to be one of those four. And in my opinion, AI is probably the most likely because that's still in a bubble, right? So we're talking about this kind of like bubble, .com bubble type thing. I think AI is still in the bubble, and I still think there's a lot of money to be made in this intersection of crypto and AI. So I brought up Banker. What that is essentially, it is an AI agent that is living on X that controls a blockchain. And it's similar to Clanker.
That controls the blockchain?
Oh, so it is able to interact with the blockchain. So I can say at Banker Bot, buy me $20 of ETH, and it is able to manage that for me.
Okay.
But so that is the very first implementation of Banker. But now agents are able to use these rails as well. So say, for example, we have a Claude Bot, right? You could, with Claude Bot, you plug in the Banker API, or the plug in the Banker skills is what it's called, Banker skill, and is able to, through Banker, do interactions with the blockchain. And the reason why I think this is important is because agents will be using the blockchain to do everything. As AI improves.
I think that they're going to be the new wave of users, the new wave of real users.
But they need money to do things in the world.
Yeah.
And Banker enables, again, not just Banker specifically, but
X402.
X402 is more TradFi rails. And so X402 it's not going to be buying with ETH, it's buying with USDC. So X402 right now, I think, is maintained by Coinbase. So USDC is kind of the native currency for that. So that's one way to go. And then Banker's more paying with ETH, the more crypto native way.
By the way, I should probably give a what is it when you like give something to, like, you say, oh, this da 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 da. I just probably disclaimer. There you go. Disclaimer. Like, we are not sponsored by anybody. We're talking about Banker and X402 specifically because we're just interested in that. I mean, I don't really know about it. He knows about it, but
I like it. Yeah.
But whenever we talk about projects, it's because we're enthusiasts of the space and not because we're sponsored.
So that said, though, if you want to sponsor me, give me money. But so to answer your question, like, okay, yes, I agree, crypto's dying. I do think there's still some paths forward in the short term, 5 years. If we look in 20 years, I think crypto's gonna be totally fine. But that's a different ballgame,
So what are you,
billions of dollars?
What are you doing? And let me ask you this question, but also like say what I'm doing and what I think is gonna help me survive the bear winter. But like, what are you doing, and what would you suggest for people to start doing now in order to survive this new paradigm shift? Like what I'm doing right now is I see that basically trading as we know it, leverage trading and retail trading, all that stuff is, in my opinion, is going to die as we know it.
Because of what we just said, or some other reason?
Because of what we said, right? Like the interest is leaving crypto, and when the interest is gone, like no one's going to be interested in it anymore. No one's going to really do this stuff, right? So I think that the old users is going to be gone. I believe that the new users is going to be AI.
Yep.
And with how much and how fast AI is growing, and these like agentic models and the agentic workflows, and how good their coding is now, I think that everyone is watching this right now has the ability to become to build their own 100% AI managed high frequency trading teams.
Yep.
Right. And I think that what I'm doing to survive this is basically try to be the first wave of these type of traders. And high frequency trading is not is nothing new.
Yeah.
Right. It's been around forever, but in order to make a desk, you need a lot of money. And you need some very smart mathematicians, coders, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's very high upkeep. But now, you can do it with $20 a month.
Yeah, so we just talked about how altcoins are dying. I mean, are you doing things like making this high-frequency trading desk for trading RWA stocks, like Google stocks, X stocks?
It's everything, right? So like right now, I'm just testing all of the strategies. But essentially, blockchain will survive, and I think that the mature traders are going to move towards RWAs, and RWAs,
which you can trade on chain.
But RWAs on chain are so new that it's inefficient. It's not optimized.
Yes,
and
agreed.
That is where profits come from high frequency trading, right? So people saw articles back when like Polymarket first came out and Cowshe, like, people are making so much, these retail users are making so much money through arbitraging between these two platforms and like just having these automated things. And And yeah, that was possible before, but now the big dogs are stepping in and it's becoming a lot more competitive. I think the newer wave of products that is going to be less optimized is RWAs.
Yeah.
Because right now, really the only things that are doing it is, Bybit, Binance, these centralized exchanges, and Hyperliquid for DeFi.
Well, I talked about how all these banks are adopting crypto, but also all the stock exchanges around the world, they're also adopting crypto.
Yeah,
Every single one of them.
we saw a few
For
months.
example, Robinhood has its own chain, and New York Stock Exchange.
Robinhood has its own chain?
Yes.
Really?
All of these things have their own chain now because it makes way more sense to be trading stocks on chain than it does in some centralized.
The New York Stock Exchange came out and said, oh, they're going to do 24-hour RW, like 24-hour equities, right? They came out with this.
They're doing it with so the New York Stock Exchange, I don't think they have their own chain, but they're partnering with essentially there's a new chain that is like partnered with New York Stock Exchange, and all stocks are going to be traded on this chain.
Really? What is it? You gotta find out now. Think harder.
There was
Think harder.
There was a Bankless episode on it. So actually, in the Bankless episode, they were kind of shocked about this too, because like it was this chain that's been around for a long time, and they have this partnership with the New York Stock Exchange. But it's
probably like Stellar Lumens, like XLM or something, right?
It's again, I can't remember the top of my head. But again,
oh, my phone is being used. Do you have a phone? Pop it out.
My point is that like, okay, one sec, let me check it.
All right. So while you're looking for that, because I feel like that's super important to talk about. But while you're looking for that, I feel like like my strategy for surviving this bear market is basically being my own trader, right? Like we created an exchange. I was out there trying to look for users, but unfortunately, it's like no one's interested in trading. Even things like Hyperliquid, I think a majority of their stuff, of their volume, is not retail. It's a lot of institutional. And they have basically this very large pocket of liquidity that people can hedge. These high frequency traders, these institutional traders can hedge, they can arb against, and it's just like a lot of like market maker PvP with each other. What'd you say?
I don't know. I can't find it as quick.
Well, I guess we could talk about it next episode. Yeah. Give these people something to tune in for the next one. But essentially, like I feel like if you want to trade, you're gonna have to hop into this fray, right? And the people that set it up first are going to be able to survive in terms of like trading, because in the future, I don't think there's gonna be that many real people trading.
I agree.
It's just gonna be robots on fighting PvP with each other. And one of the biggest hurdles of setting all of this stuff up is trying to catch this edge, and it takes so much time to actually find some sort of small profit.
Yeah.
But if you can find that profit and actually like the strategy and claim a little bit of profit, because your overhead is so small, $20 a month or whatever, and the AWS servers to maintain, because your overhead is so small, you can make good money from that.
Yeah.
Then all you have to do is raise.
Yep.
Right. You just have to find people that don't want to bother doing all of this stuff, and
so we're talking
give you money for a share of their earnings.
We're saying about what can you do. I think exactly what you're doing is what you can do. I was saying, you can make some sort of tool for a bank, but then like I just said, there's also the stock exchange is going on chain, and what you're doing is building some sort of system that you could use it yourself. Or say if you build a system that's effective, like AI, high frequency trading, you could then go and sell this platform to someone like the New York Stock Exchange, because they're going to need this. They're going to want this. Like you said,
you don't sell it to that. You don't sell it to the casino. You sell it to a bank or like another trading desk or firm or something like that.
Yeah, but you're selling a shovel that could be used in this future. Like I totally agree. I think that number one, stocks are going to be traded on chain. I think number two, you're totally right that it's not going to be humans pressing buttons. It's going to be bots pressing buttons. Just like now, there's trading bots, right? And I think all this happening in the blockchain. So putting these together and building it now for this future that we're moving towards, I think that's exactly what you should be doing. On this point of like taking advantage of these small differences, like, when it comes to Polymarket, there's these things where it's like a person will make 1% on a trade, which is a tiny amount. But if you do that again and again and again with large enough positions, it ends up being millions of dollars.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. The millions of dollars depends on like the size.
Yeah,
how much everything, right? How much liquidity is.
Or billions. Yeah.
But like, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But so like the inefficiencies of the market is where you make money from this stuff. But then that's just like one strategy, right? If you essentially come out and make 10, 20, 30, 40 strategies. And then you have a Claude Bot that looks at all of it, manages it. And then you have basically a machine learning system that manages itself. And, oh, this strategy is no longer profitable. Like, look to see and test the parameters to see if it can find profit again within a range. And then once it does that, it'll trigger it and let it keep running. And then it just basically maintains the entire system like that.
Yeah.
And you don't do anything. You just sit back and basically help raise money
Yeah.
to feed into this system. But I feel like I think that that's the future of retail trading. And I want to be the first wave of retail that builds this, because I want to be early essentially in everything, right? That's the ones that make the most money, is being early. So that's what I'm investing most of my time. And it's addicting, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
as soon as I wake up at 8, 9 a.m., I go to the computer, I start vibe coding. I have 3 different agents up at the same time with my Gemini in the corner. I'll have what is this? Terraria. It's like
A game.
Yeah, the game. I have that in the corner for when these things are because codecs can be slow sometimes.
Yeah.
When they're taking a long time or I need a break, I'll just play Terraria.
Yeah.
And it's fun, man. Just doing this. I haven't had fun on a computer.
Yep.
In this in years. Probably when I first found crypto, not found, but when I first started heavily trading, day trading crypto back in 2017, 2016. Yeah, I was addicted to it, bro. Night and day I was on there just the only difference is that it's not social. You're not really talking to anybody. And whereas in crypto before, you were in
I think we talk to each other about these types of things. So you can find that. It's a job, when you're sitting there by yourself, it is a job. It's a fun job, but it's a job. And I think you can make it social, but you have to go find the groups. I do meetups and all sorts of stuff like that.
But for the builders, I mean, for traders, you were in a group to try to find alpha and share it with one another, or in the trenches essentially, and you had your own little trench warfare.
But when you have your AI wife, you talk to her.
But with AI, you're just talking to AI the whole time. Talking to somebody about your project isn't gonna help you with your project. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is what I was saying before. It's I think there is something to be said when you talk to other people about it, because they see your projects and your ideas in a different light. Going back to the soul document, which is why I kind of think that it's important to share ideas with other people with different perspectives. So you asked me the question before, what should people be doing? I mean, I guess what I'm doing is I'm trying to learn as many different AI tools and different ways to implement these things on the blockchain, in AI, all different ways to use these things. So for example, I was learning how to use Banker Bot. I was learning how to build Claude plugins. I was learning how to, all these different things.
You need to learn those plugins, by the way. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned before that you don't need Claude Bot anymore. And I agree, because I don't necessarily want, the only difference between what I'm doing, which is a Claude plugin plus Claude code, the only difference is that Claude plugin doesn't have a cron job. Outside of that, it can plug into anything. It can send me a message on Telegram. It can draw on the screen.
It doesn't have a cron job.
So cron job, Claude code.
I know what cron jobs are, but how does Claude code?
It does not have a cron job.
So it does. It comes by default.
So a cron job, if I turn off my computer, then Claude code would not run.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
whereas Claude Bot also wouldn't run.
Well, you would set it up on a VPS or on a server that's running.
But you can do that as well.
I could. And so when you say that Claude code has a cron job built in, what do you mean by that? I can say, hey, run this at 12 o'clock?
Yes. And it'll create a cron job to do that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never tried that, but that's good to know. So again, okay, well then there we go. So a plugin gives you access to anything that Claude code can do, Claude Bot can do, a plugin can do too, and probably better, because you can specialize on that specific thing. So recently I made a plugin for feedback. And so I keep on making websites and different apps, and I would build everything and I'll go check it and take notes and stuff. So essentially I build a plugin that I type a command. It's /feedbackbot. And then what it'll do is it'll bring up the website, it'll show on the other screen, and then it'll walk me through hey, the AI agent will say hey, look at the header bar. Is there anything you notice? And I can circle it on the screen and write a little note and click go, and it'll send it into the system.
Really cool.
And then move to step to step. But my point being here, this is totally customized. You can do that with Claude code, but I think doing with plugins is way cleaner, because I don't need to give it access to everything. And then so essentially I trigger this.
Well, this is what I've come to realize, and now tell people about Claude Bot is Claude Bot is not necessary or required anymore.
It's over the top.
It's definitely over the top. Claude Bot gives unfiltered access to everything, which can be very dangerous. Right? And then it gives the agent this soul, it gives it a personality, it overstimulates its thought process, which can cause it to overthink and burn tokens out the wazoo.
So this is what I was saying, plugins are better because it's contained. It only burns tokens when I need it to.
Well, I think not just plugins are better, but I think CLI in general is better because now, you know, when Peter made Claude Bot, they didn't have this functionality of sandboxing, which is essentially what a Claude Bot is, right? So you can on Codex and I believe on Claude Code as well, you can launch the agent within a sandbox system that gives complete control over everything. Essentially, we just cut off. Essentially, making it a Claude Bot, or you can or you can make a sandbox environment within only specific files.
Yeah.
Which means that it has complete control. It doesn't need to ask you yes or whatever within this code base.
Yep.
Which is all you need to develop.
Right? I mean, in general, that's what you do with any project. Like, say, 5 years ago, you would have a file called .env. And in that file, you put all the passwords for that specific file. You don't give it access to everything. You're like, hey, here's all the private stuff, so don't share this. But if you need to spend my money, here's the private key.
So exactly. So like my setup with my bot, with my agent, is I have the local files, which it has basically unfiltered access to.
Yep.
It has the AWS server with a private tunnel and everything because I'm going to start live streaming. But it has unfiltered access within the AWS server.
Yeah.
And it can only interact with those things. If it tries to run some, bash script or whatever that goes outside of those parameters, it has to ask a question. And then even if it asks a question, it'll get flagged by my Bitdefender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas Claude Bot, it bypasses all of that.
Yeah.
Right. So the security is completely out the window. And then also when you start adding this personality and this soul,
you really don't like
I really don't like it. But when you start adding it, because I added it, I did a bunch of stuff. I even did like this copy paste that I saw on Twitter, which I made a post about, and it completely ruined my agent. I got spammed with all of this logic thinking, this internal dialogue, basically, that just, it was just burning through credits, and it took so long to do anything because it's sitting there and thinking, oh, I should be more happy and blah 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 blah, and I should really not do this and oh, but wait, maybe and it just goes.
It's not needed, man.
It's not needed. It's a freaking robot, just do the thing. That's it.
My doctor is oftentimes more, it gives it direction like, hey, here's what I recommend, but don't be constrained by these things. And so that's not necessarily personality. It's more of like a scope of work, a scope of ability.
But every time you're giving it the ability to do this extra thought, which can be good, it's pros and cons. It's a double-edged sword. So you can say, hey, look, don't feel limited by this. Think harder and maybe give me like a suggestion.
Exactly.
If you think blah, blah, blah. But every time it does that, every single time it does anything, it'll run through this loop. And it could just loop and loop until finally it chooses to do something. And every time it loops, it wastes time. Typing out its thinking, and then it burns credits. Right. So that's why a Claude Bot can literally just be sitting, doing nothing, and it'll burn through like $30 within 2-3 hours or whatever, doing absolutely nothing, just sitting there idle because it's sitting there and just having this internal monologue of this stuff, and it's not necessary. It's not optimized, right?
So just to wrap up, because I think we should soon, right? Like, my advice to the viewers is that you should be learning these tools. Like, yes, Claude Bot sucks, but I think to know how it works is important. To know how not just Claude Bot and not just AI, but also there's other players in this field. Again, just for example, Banker, like there are these other tools that you can start to use. Learn how to use X402. I think learning how these things work and how to use these, because again, you don't have to write this code anymore. If you just say, hey, use X402, it's going to use X402. But you need to know what that is and know what it does in order to say those words, So that's kind of the path I'm taking right now. I don't really know. I'm building several different things. Like I have my own YouTube channel, and on that, I kind of explore. I kind of go down these little rabbit holes in each different topic, like what is this thing, what is that thing, and I'll spend enough time to learn how to do it. And then what I found is that every time I do that, I'm able to then tie things together later. I would have already played with, for example, plugins. Like I was doing Banker this morning, but then I realized, oh, I already know how to do plugins, and so then I made like a Banker plugin, you know. And so to tie these things together, I think every time I do that, I learn more and more, and I feel like it's expanding my tool set in this new future. Because I don't know what I'm going to build, say, 5-10 years from now, but I know that these underlying skills are going to be important. So that's my advice.
100% agree. And also, just to clarify, I don't think that Claude Bot sucks. I think that Claude Bot is the future in the sense that when we have these robots in our house, just like we all have a cell phone or something like that, they're all essentially going to have a Claude Bot
type
of thing within it.
Yeah.
But for right now, if you're a builder and you just want to build a product, it is way more cost effective, safe, faster to simply use the CLIs because you can do everything that these Claude bots can do, and you can actually tweak the parameters to what you want and how you want things, the access that you want.
The only thing I'd add to that is, again, I think these plugins are super powerful because if you're using just pure codecs, it may not have the ability to interact with the blockchain. But if you know how to use a plugin, you can just install a plugin and then boom, your codex has access to the blockchain.
Yeah, but the plugins are going in because there's plugins for
everything
for Claude Bot, right? But like I think plugins and the CLI is more than enough for builders to just.
That's what I'm saying. I think I totally agree. You don't need Claude Bot now. You need just one of these kind of coding environments. And then if you want to do something a little bit more complex, like say for example, accessing the browser in a specific way, like integrating with Twitter or something like that, there are already plugins built. So you don't have to build it yourself. There's already plugins out there. Like for example, Slack. Like if you work in Slack and you want to use that data to improve your business, just work on codecs. Get the Slack plugin, boom. Now you have a Claude Bot type thing without all the wasted tokens and personality.
I agree. And also, so we'll wrap this up, but I do want to say one final thing, one piece of advice for everyone out there. If you have a 9-to-5 job, you need to learn this stuff because if you don't, you will get fired. You will not be able to find a job out there. It's going to be very, very difficult. I even told my staff, basically, everyone needs to learn how to automate the processes and stuff, or they're fired. Because I think that this is the way of the future. And I can tell that they're scared. Oh, I'm gonna replace them with a robot. But why would I do that? Why would anybody replace the person that knows how to manage and maintain and build an automated system for them, rather than like, why would anybody fire that? Like, I always tell them, if I had the option or the choice to choose between like a PhD mathematician or whatever, to do my bookkeeping, but all he knew how to do is pen and paper, or I had somebody that, maybe it doesn't even have a PhD or whatever, but they know how to use Excel and a computer. Like, of course I'm going to hire the person that knows how to use technology. So like, why would I fire somebody and replace them with a robot when they know how to maintain that robot and make more robots to scale? You know what I'm saying?
Their output's going to be 10 times what they could have done before.
Yeah.
So it's very valuable for you as a business owner.
Well, I feel like if anybody is in like marketing or in anything really, like even developers, like if you can create and maintain these robots, you will, one, get a job anywhere, but two, you'll most likely be destroying other people's jobs. Because anyone in the United States would hire if I went to somebody and said, hey, I can automate your entire marketing team and have them perform way better, just give me $4,000 a month, I'll be your consultant, I'll set it up for you and I'll maintain everything for you. And then I went out and did that with 10 other companies and I'm starting to make $40,000 a month. Like, of course, a company would be like, "Oh, you're gonna essentially replace my entire marketing team," which probably cost them like $40,000 a month or something. And all they have to, and they can replace it with a fraction of the cost. They would definitely.
Reminds me of outsourcing. Like if I can hire someone in Vietnam, and they code, they would say 5 years ago, they code a website that's just as good as someone in the States for half the price. Well, I'm going to go with the person in Vietnam.
It's all good. It's essentially the exact same thing as outsourcing, just like we did with like iPhones and everything was outsourced to India and China and all this other stuff. outsourcing is not, but now, you know, with all the tariffs and all that stuff, outsourcing to these countries is going to be more and more difficult.
Yeah.
But it's still going to happen. It's just going to happen to AI within its own home country. So I really, really think probably like the best message out of this entire podcast conversation thing is that if you are not learning AI, you need to, or you're going to have very, very big problems in the very near future. But all right, so we'll wrap things up from here. Thanks again for joining us, Enzo. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and all that fun jazz. Peace, peace.